I've told you, I think you're about to make off without payment. And if I don't arrest you, then you will make off without payment. So there's my threat.
Well, I'm offering to make
Can you come
payment.
out of the car, please?
Yeah,
sir?
sure.
Welcome to Noxium, where police power meets public accountability.
This episode is brought to us by Auditor Brett Chamberlain. Be sure to check the link below, subscribe to his channel, and give him the credit he deserves. Following the widespread reaction to the previous coin audit, here is another remarkable encounter that takes the situation even further. In this episode, Auditor Brett is at a Tesco petrol station when staff call the police, claiming he is refusing to pay. In fact, he is attempting to pay with a £100 Royal Mint coin, which is fully legal tender. A sergeant attends the scene, is corrected on the law, yet instead of acknowledging the mistake, sides with Tesco and wrongfully arrests Brett. That error proves costly as Brett takes the matter to court, secures a substantial...
This is what's going to happen. Okay, so you've done your bit checking on legislation. I've just checked on my legislation. As I said to you, the shop does not have to accept it just because it is legal tender. You said it's legal tender. You are correct. However, it is a commemorative coin. On the internet, they're worth about 20 quid.
Well,
Right, so here is what is going to happen. Either you are going to pay for your fuel correctly, or you are going to fill out their civil recovery form so that you can arrange to make payment at a later date, or I'm going to arrest you for bilking.
what's bilking?
Bilking, making off without payment. You've got to the point where payment is due.
Mhm.
You're now refusing to make payment. Therefore, I will treat it as a criminal offence. So how would you wish to proceed at this point?
Well, I have got means to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to fill out a civil recovery form. As you
Okay,
put it.
right. So what's the means?
So
that
what was
you're
the option
going to pay?
2?
So option 1
Yeah.
is either you pay. Option 2 is you fill out the form. Option 3 is that you get arrested.
Well, pay.
No, you pay with legal tender that they will accept.
That is legal tender.
No, they don't have,
But if this is a £50 note and he said, oh, look, we don't accept £50 notes because there's lots of forgeries,
exactly.
would you be doing exactly the same thing now?
Yes. So
That
if you
thing-
go into a corner shop and try and pay for a penny chew with a £50 note, they are perfectly within their rights to refuse that sale.
The sergeant's initial accusation of bilking does not stand up to scrutiny. Under the Theft Act 1978, making off without payment requires 2 conditions: actually leaving the premises and intending to avoid payment. The auditor, however, remained on site, seated in his car, and was actively offering to pay. When he produces a £100 Royal Mint coin, the sergeant compounds the error by claiming it depends on what the staff will accept. That is not how the law operates. Once fuel has been dispensed, a debt is established, and offering legal tender lawfully discharges that debt. A cashier's personal preference or lack of understanding cannot override statutory law. By siding with Tesco rather than the law, the sergeant revealed a fundamental misunderstanding of the basic principles of legal tender.
It's different because...
No, it's not different.
No, it is.
You have offered a form of payment that they will not accept. Principle is exactly the same.
Well, if you arrest me, it'll be a wrongful arrest.
Yeah? It's not. It's a lawful arrest because I've explained the situation and I've explained that I believe you're doing this
So
for
you're a
dishonest
sergeant
reasons.
or an officer?
I am a sergeant.
Right.
Okay?
I reckon-
So my point is also that coin is not worth the face value of it. It's not legal tender in such a way that this shop has to accept it as being valued at £100.
Okay, so,
So
it has, hang on,
way
it has,
short of the mark.
no, I'm not. So, it has got a face value of £100, so it's worth £100.
It's not.
Well, you say that, but the Bank of England, the House of Commons, the state, all the institutions that came before you say it is, right? But you say it isn't, right? Now you say it's only worth whatever you say it was. Interesting, I don't know if you've looked at the price of silver, but that's probably worth about £48 in silver.
So
Hang on, I haven't finished yet. So that's £48 in silver.
Yeah.
Whereas, how much is a £20 note or a £50 note worth in plastic? What, a penny or 2?
This is the point where the sergeant's credibility completely unravels. When the auditor correctly points out that the coin carries a face value of £100, the sergeant flatly denies it, insisting it is merely a commemorative coin. That is not how the law operates. A coin struck by the Royal Mint with an assigned face value is legal tender. Whether it is commemorative or in general circulation, its status is determined by statute, not by a cashier's preference or an officer's opinion. By claiming the coin does not carry its face value, the sergeant demonstrated a complete misunderstanding of currency law. Commemorative or not, The £100 coin is backed by the Crown and the Treasury, meaning it must be accepted for the payment of a debt.
You ought to check to make sure it's not an unlawful
Can I have
arrest.
another unit, please? This chap's about to be arrested.
Would it be unlawful arrest?
Well, it's not a wrongful arrest.
It would be a wrongful arrest. Well, how can you arrest somebody for refusing to pay when they're offering to pay with a coin of the realm?
Because you're not offering to pay with payment that they can accept or will accept or have to accept. No.
Now, interestingly, you said that you've done some research on this, and I've done this before.
Yeah.
Well, what was the outcome of it last time?
It was no further action.
Why was that then?
I don't know.
Well, how come you've got a record of that?
I'm about to let you drive off from here.
Well, how come you got a record that I did it last time, but you haven't got a record of the outcome?
Why? Because I haven't got time to look at that right now.
But you have got time to arrest me and deal with all the paperwork that'll be involved in that.
Yep.
So that's just abusing your power, I think, because what you're trying to do
It's
is
using that power proportionally. These people here are trying to run a business, and you are making life extremely difficult by being obstructive in how you're going to pay.
No, I'm not.
The sergeant openly admits he has encountered this exact situation before, yet cannot explain what the outcome was. That alone demonstrates he is not learning from experience. He is merely repeating the same heavy-handed approach without reflection. What makes the situation worse is his refusal to even check. When pressed, he dismisses it, claiming he hasn't got time to review the previous result. Yet moments later, he finds time to make an arrest and complete all the accompanying paperwork. That is not policing, that is ego. An arrest should be a measure of last resort, grounded in facts. Here, the facts were clear. The auditor had not left the premises, had offered payment, and was holding lawful currency.
I'm only here to enforce the law. I'm not here to decide. I just suspect that an offence has taken place. Okay? So I'm not convicting you, and you're refusing, to cooperate with me any further. You're refusing to resolve this situation by giving these people your details. So therefore,
No, don't, because what you're trying to encourage me to do is not to give them my details, but to fill out a legally binding form. You're actually encouraging me to fill out a legally binding form, right? That would be detrimental to me.
Why? Because you have to pay for your fuel just like everybody else in the special station.
No, because you're forcing me not to use cash. It's exactly the same as you.
I'm forcing you to provide the legal tender that this business is willing to accept.
But it's not for them to pick and choose.
Which is, absolutely.
No, it's not.
If they will only accept payment in Pokemon cards, that is entirely up to them.
Yeah, but they need to state that on the pump. Right, when I take the fuel, they say payment only in Pokemon. I'm not trying to. What do you think? What do you think I'm trying to achieve then out of this?
So why are you not willing to offer any other sort of payment? Do you have bank cards on you?
Maybe it's a matter of principle. This is a coin of the realm. You shouldn't be threatening to arrest me because of their preference as to what type of note or coin they accept. That's ridiculous.
The sergeant's attempt to portray this as the auditor, pulling a fast one, is entirely laughable. A fast one implies someone sneaking away without paying, not standing in plain sight, offering legal tender directly to the cashier. The accusation collapses as soon as you consider that the auditor never left the forecourt, never concealed his intentions, and openly presented a £100 coin issued by the Royal Mint. When the sergeant asks why he didn't pay another way, the auditor's response is decisive. It's about principle. He should not be required to bend simply because the shop or the police dislike the method of payment. The law recognises that coin as valid currency. If retailers can refuse it and the police enforce that refusal with threats of arrest, then it ceases to be the law determining what constitutes money. It becomes a matter of personal preference.
Your job, is it, to say what type of coin that Tesco accepts or not?
It's my job to make sure that you don't go past the point of payment without making payment.
Well, I haven't driven off, have I? I've got every intention of paying with this coin.
No.
If I had no intention, if I was trying to do something dishonest, I'd driven off, wouldn't I? But the fact is, I waited here for you to come, and I've discussed it with you. I've tried to explain it, being very civil, and be rude, have I? In any way, I've got no disrespect for the police whatsoever.
No.
Might go downhill a bit if you arrest me unlawfully.
Okay.
I just think, please, just check that it's a lawful arrest. I don't think it is.
I believe it is.
And the whole point of cash and legal tender is that you cannot be successfully prosecuted for non-payment if you've offered legal tender. So, if I had Scottish notes, right, now they're not legal tender in the UK, they're not legal tender full stop, but Tesco's actually accept those.
The auditor hit the mark when he told the sergeant, "You can't be prosecuted for non-payment if you've already offered legal tender. That's the whole point of legal tender. Once it's offered, the debt is discharged whether the retailer likes it or not." The offence of making off without payment only applies when someone leaves without paying and intends to avoid it entirely. His comparison with Scottish banknotes is equally telling. Technically, they are not legal tender in England, yet retailers across the country accept them every day without issue. So how can Tesco willingly accept Scottish notes but refuse an official £100 UK coin that is legal tender? It highlights the absurdity of the sergeant's position. The issue was never the auditor's method of payment. It was the store's inconsistency, compounded by poor policing.
An invitation to take the fuel, and I've taken the fuel, and now I've got a debt, and I'm offering to pay the debt in legal tender. Now, in the store, it's different, because I haven't taken the food, have I? In fact, if I'd have eaten the food, I'd be obligated to pay for it, and then it'd be the same scenario, just the same as if you went into a restaurant and had a meal, you know, and then you have to pay afterwards, and you offered to pay in that. Well, they can't lawfully have you prosecuted for failure to pay if you've offered a reasonable means of payment and they've refused to accept it.
But you've refused to identify yourself to this person.
Well, I don't need to, do I?
I'm now starting to view your actions as being dishonest.
How have I been dishonest?
I suspect an offence is going to...
How have I been dishonest?
Because you're refusing to give your information to this gentleman so that...
But he's not entitled to my information, is he?
He is.
Okay, if I told you what
because you have a debt to settle up with him.
This is...
So to go to the restaurant scenario, if you ate your meal and then said, I've forgotten my wallet, I've got no means of paying.
Oh, no means of paying.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So at that point, you're not being dishonest. At the point that you refuse to identify yourself, or you put Mickey Mouse care of Disney World on a piece of paper and say, here's my details, you're then becoming dishonest.
What about if, like, we went to the restaurant, we had a meal, right, and then I pulled out a £50 note, and they said, look, we don't accept £50 notes.
Yeah.
They can't make a decision about refusing to accept the £50 notes when you owe them money. They can only refuse to go through with the transaction in the first place. It's only because you've had the goods and you owe a debt that they can't refuse to accept the money.
The auditor's restaurant analogy is devastating because it reduces the issue to plain common sense. Once the goods or services have been provided, a business cannot arbitrarily choose which lawful payments it will accept. They may refuse a £50 note before service, but not after a debt has been incurred. The same principle applies at the petrol station. The fuel had already been supplied, and the auditor offered legal tender. That settled the matter. The sergeant's failure to recognise this was not a minor oversight. It was a fundamental collapse of basic legal understanding. Legal tender is defined so that, once offered, the debt is discharged in law, full stop. By siding with Tesco's preference over the statute, he converted a civil non-issue into a criminal matter that never existed.
So these coins are made by the Royal Mint.
Yep, and they are legal tender.
And they are legal tender. Yeah. So how can I be refusing to pay and being dishonest in any way when I'm offering to pay with a coin of the realm and legal tender?
Because you've offered a form of payment that they are unable or unwilling to accept. Therefore, as I said, the onus is on you to find alternative means. You've failed to do that.
Okay.
And you are now proposing to leave here without actually giving any means of identification so they can arrange at a later date to make payment with you.
Okay.
So therefore, because of that, I suspect that you are about to commit an offence of making off without payment.
See, now I reckon that if you've offered to pay, and I've offered to pay lots of times, got it on video, and right, and they refuse to accept the payment, I can't see how that I've committed a crime, even if I don't pay.
To provide an alternative means of payment or come to an alternative agreement.
So what you're suggesting is that you're going to arrest me based on the opinion of a Tesco staff member.
No,
whereas another member of staff might have.
On my suspicion.
Suspicion.
I'm sure with the amount of time this gentleman has spent here, and the fact that other colleagues are aware of the fact that we have been here for half an hour.
Nah, 16 minutes.
I'm sure if he were able to take that coin, he would have done it by now, because he's got plenty of other things to do. You are costing them money by the fact that your car's sat here taking out these two lanes.
Well, I've offered to move it, but he said no.
If they could...
I offered to move it, but he said no.
But if they were willing to take this at any point, they would have done that.
Now, don't you think, Ben, right, that the country's biggest retailer would have a simple, basic understanding of coins of the realm and the legal tender situation and what they can do and what they can't do?
Well, they clearly do by the fact that they are not obliged to take it just because it's legal tender.
Because he said so. But how do you know he's right? And how do you know that what he's saying is the opinion of Tesco's as a company as a whole.
It's not that he's right, it's that the Bank of England is right. And it's the Bank of England that states that the shopkeepers are not legally obliged to accept any royal tender.
Right, okay. I understand where you're coming from with that, but that's referring to buying something from a store, not to paying a debt.
Okay. It's still the same.
No, it's not.
Situation.
No,
Okay.
it's not.
That's fine.
It's actually on Bank of England website what legal tender is.
Yeah, it is. As I said, I have no argument with you about that at all.
The sergeant attempts to appear knowledgeable by quoting the Bank of England, claiming that shopkeepers are not legally obliged to accept legal tender. On the surface, that is correct. The Bank of England states that retailers can choose which payment methods they accept. However, the sergeant completely misses the context. That rule applies only at the point of sale, before goods or services have been supplied. Once the goods are provided, a debt exists, and offering legal tender lawfully discharges that debt, whether the retailer likes it or not. This is precisely the distinction the auditor highlighted. Paying for fuel is not the same as attempting to purchase an item off the shelf, where a shop can refuse coins or notes in advance. The fuel was already delivered, so the transaction had moved beyond choice. At that stage, the only relevant question is whether the customer offers valid legal tender to settle the debt.
So I'm arresting you on suspicion of making off without payment. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned, something on which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand?
Yep.
Okay, so my intention at this time is to take you to Exeter Police Station, where you'll be put into custody. The reason for that is for the prompt and effective investigation of the offence and to confirm your identity and your name and address.
Well, it'll be unlawful arrest, won't it?
No, not at all.
Right, where do you want me to park
I
my
have
car
the
then?
suspicion that you're about to commit an offence.
Well, what offence am I committing?
I've told you, I think you're about to make off without payment. And if I don't arrest you, then you will make off without payment. So there's my grounds.
Well, I'm offering to make
Can you come
payment.
out of the car, please?
Yeah,
sir? Okay.
There's no use violence, is there?
No, well, step out of the car.
Let me just get my affairs together, all right?
Okay. Do you want to provide your details, or are you going to go to custody?
Well, I'll buy my details for you.
Yeah. Could you want to provide them to this man here?
No, but you want me to fill out a legal document?
Yeah.
No, I'm not filling out a legal
Okay.
document.
Out of the car then, please, sir.
The sergeant's justification for the arrest is entirely absurd. He openly admits that the auditor had not committed any offence, claiming only that he might in the future. That is not how the law works. The update makes the error even clearer. After being arrested, the auditor was taken into custody, interviewed, and treated like a criminal over nothing more than a payment dispute caused by Tesco. Yet, instead of yielding to intimidation, he fought back and took legal action. The result, a £5,000 settlement, a figure that speaks volumes about how severely the police mishandled the case. You do not pay out thousands unless it is clear you are on the losing side. This episode casts a harsh light on how fragile policing becomes when officers ignore the fundamentals of the law. The sergeant claimed authority based on nothing but speculation, inventing criminal intent that simply did not exist. His refusal to recognise the £100 coin as legal tender only made matters worse. Tesco breached their obligations, yet it was the auditor who was arrested, a clear example of upside-down policing. What makes it worse is the arrogance layered over ignorance. The sergeant dismissed challenges, admitted he did not know the outcomes of previous cases, and yet pressed ahead, wasting hours on an arrest that never should have happened. That is not protecting the public, that is protecting ego. Finally, the £5,000 payout is the loudest statement of all. It proves that when officers overstep, the law retains its authority. The auditor was not merely correct, he was vindicated in the strongest possible way. This case should serve as a wake-up call to every officer. Respect the law you are sworn to enforce, or the courts will teach that lesson for you, one payout at a time. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps me continue my independent coverage. Also, be sure to check out Brett Chamberlain. His channel is linked in the description. Show him some support. Thanks for watching.